They call me Shimurenga, the Savannah Lion. I am the leader of the People's Provisional Revolutionary Government. We are struggling to bring down the heartless capitalist government and lead the people of Grand Chien into a bright communist future.
And I thought I was the one who believed in fairy tales.
Hello everybody, this is Syb with the Triple S League, and I love Jagged Alliance. I've always loved Jagged Alliance. It's one of the core games of my childhood, and I have played an ungodly amount of Jagged Alliance over the years. And I just want to give my take on the character creation and kind of what is really important for you guys to focus in on. If you're new to the game, I'm going to quickly run through the character creation. I'm going to give the best traits that you can pick as well. Now, the personality test that they do for you, I recommend that you do it, and as long as you read through the questions, answer them honestly, and then if you like the decisions that it comes to, just stick with that, because that's going to give a good, that's going to play to how you would kind of see yourself answering some of the events that happen in the game and offering the solutions or the reactions that you might think. It is pretty cool, and that's not really what you want to fine-tune. What you really want to fine-tune is these stats and the abilities here. So let's just cover this kind of quickly. So health covers the general health of your merc. If it hits 0, you're out. If you're playing on the hardcore modes, you're also dead. So, that's probably not a good thing. Agility, it affects AP, how much action points you have. You want this as high as you can get it. You want dexterity as high as you can get it, because that affects stealth kills and also some movement stuff. Strength affects how much you can lift, how much you can carry, how much damage you do with certain attacks, and then how much you can use the crowbar to get access to things. Leadership affects a handful of things with morales and just the general how to train militia, that kind of stuff. Those are all pretty straightforward, and along with wisdom, you want this as high as you possibly can get it. You want wisdom to be the highest, because that is the thing that's going to affect the majority of your gameplay, even if you're sacrificing a lot of other things for it, such as mechanical and medical. You really don't need either of these up at the beginning of the game. You do want explosives up, and I'll get to that in a minute here, but wisdom really governs how fast your merc learns. And it's going to be really tough if you bring a really stupid merc to the table. If the smarter he is, the more he or she is going to learn how to improve their skills, all that kind of stuff. Leadership, not that important especially if you're bringing a teacher or somebody else who's got one of those bonuses, but everything else, very, very, very important. Accuracy, marksmanship, it's not that great if you're going to be training it and learning it, because it's going to go up really fast, especially if you've got it really low. You can, whenever you're doing some training of the militia, you can be having your more accurate mercs teaching your main merc how to shoot better, and it's going to go up pretty fast. I start down with a very, very low number. I usually start in around the 40s so that I can get explosives as high as I can get it. And the reason why I do explosives is because there's a lot of minefields and a lot of explosives that you encounter in the game, and the faster you can disable those things, the more your merc is going to learn, and the faster they're going to get overall. So that's actually a really, really good thing for that, for kind of expediting some experience and some wisdom gains. Because if you defuse the entire minefield on the starting island in both locations, you can actually end up getting your wisdom up 1 or 2 points, and that's really going to affect the end of the game, going into the full game, getting all that stuff done. So if you want to do that, that's my opinion. But you can, if you don't have somebody who's good with medical, you'll want somebody who's good with medical. If you don't have anybody that's good with mechanical, you definitely want somebody who's going to be good with mechanical. And those are good things. If you don't want to do any of that kind of stuff, if you just want to go in and start shooting, then sure, bench that stuff. put up marksmanship as high as it'll go. But this stuff trains really, really fast, especially when it's at 0. If you have it at 0 and you got somebody who's a really good teacher and who has a lot of skill, like in the high 90s for anything, you put them into one teaching session with your merc, you're going to learn 15 to 20 points on that first initial go. So yeah, that's more or less what's going on there. But let's get into the abilities, because these are the big ones. These are the really big ones. So the personal perks, this is going to affect conversation stuff and a little bit of travel and whatnot. This affects combat a little bit, gives you a free swap. I've not found this to be that important. I haven't found this to be that important as far as like, I'm not the one my main merc isn't the one who's doing all the training, so I kind of skip that one. Like I don't see the effect of it, and there are other mercs who do have that trait. I haven't tried the psycho trait, even though I in Jagged Alliance 2 I almost always pick the psycho trait because it'll give them it gives them some fun stuff. So whichever one of these are going to be mostly your personal touch. These are going to be whatever you want to do. But let's review the tactical perks. So the tactical perks are really honestly the biggest affecting for your main merc, because it's really going to define what they are and then how to utilize them. So let's start here up at the top here. Auto weapons is probably the best, in my humble opinion, the best perk you can pick. Most of the weapons that you're going to be utilizing have an auto mode, and that accuracy penalty is going to be on all the time. There's a bunch of weapons where a single shot is 4 AP and a cluster shot, burst fire of 3 shots is going to be 5. And you can get that down lower so that it's like 4 and 4. So it's like, why shoot 1 bullet when you can always shoot 3 bullets? And especially if you can always hit with those 3 bullets. So that's a really good question, and it's really good all the time, because it's always there if you're using a full auto weapon. If you're going like sniper only, don't pick this because it's going to be worthless to you. But this being in the game as it is, the full auto, especially if you get one of the mods that increases multiple hit, burst fire, auto fire damage, this is like super huge, very important, very good to have. And it really like makes the game a lot better, a lot easier, because you're going to be doing that targeting a lot if you're picking up any of the guns that have full auto. And again, if you're a sniper, don't pick it. The times that you're going to be firing, multiple rounds with the sniper rifles is next to zil. And I'll show you guys where you get the best weapon in the game for snipers here too. So the accuracy bonus of attacking enemies in close range. This is pretty handy whenever you're fighting anybody in close range, which isn't that often. A lot of your fights are going to end up being quite the long range fights. This is very handy if you're building a sneak character and you're wanting to go around and do stealth kills and you're doing headshots at really close ranges. Then this becomes a little bit more important and quite possibly one of your best picks that you can take, because you're sneaking in, you're taking these guys out in very close range. That's kind of how you want to do it. You really don't want to have misfires, because misfires will alert, and then of course if you miss, then you're not going to kill the guy. But in sneak modes, if you have a full auto silenced weapon, again, this outweighs this all the time, because the close quarters is just not something that you're going to encounter all the time. Whereas this, again, the minute you're firing multiple rounds, as long as you're landing them all, then you're doing maximum damage, you're getting the maximum amount of crits in. That's a really good thing. Heavy weapons. I have not seen a heavy weapon in the first 30 hours I played, aside from one rocket launcher with exactly 1 ammunition for it. So probably not. There is a machine gun that you get on the first island, but that is the only heavy machine gun I have seen. And again, I would really like a cool machine gun to use, but it is not something that I have seen, found, or been able to get my hands on, other than the one that you have to give to the starting village if you want to go that route. So tempting, If you're into heavy guns, again, you might want to pair this one and this one up together because it just helps you to have that full control auto. So this is very good too. I would say that these are both like S tier for sure. Like especially if you're combining them and you're using that heavy machine gun constantly to lay down just massive suppressing fire, massive damage, a bunch of other stuff. It's really fun, and I'm sure having a ton of mortars and rockets is going to be fun near the end of the game. Improved martial arts, improved accuracy with melee attacks, improved defense against melee attacks. This is pretty good again if you're going a sneak route and you want to use knives instead of guns. Then again, combining stealthy with martial arts is going to give you some pretty cool builds, and the grit bonus that you get from doing melee attacks with melee weapons is it's pretty strong right now. It's pretty overpowered in a lot of scenarios. You could just run around executing people left and right and having this huge grit wall of immortality up, and that's really cool. This is actually one of the best things about Jagged Alliance 3 in compared to Jagged Alliance 2. The ability to do like a full-on melee build is actually quite strong, quite cool. Right now, 30 hours into the game, I have only discovered knives. I've heard that there's machetes. I have not seen machetes, but I've heard that there's machetes, but I do not have a machete after 30 hours of playing. I do have a lot of knives though. So again, this is not something that, it's not a bad choice to, again, pair these up if you want to go a stealthy, kind of like attack route. Hand-to-hand. Interrupt melee attacks when an enemy in melee range attacks or tries to move away during the enemy's turn. If you're going to go straight up crazy combat, like just run into the field of battle with a machete and just start hacking people apart, again, combining martial arts with hand-to-hand is pretty good because a lot of the enemies are not going to want to engage with you, while they're right next to you. And again, if you get within that range, then you get a free attack off of them, and every time you're doing attacks, you're getting grit. It's a really good combination. So again, these really good combination together. But outside of that, if you're taking it to be kind of like a sneaky assassin type, don't take this. Don't. It only triggers essentially when they spot you, and the whole point of being, stealthy, going in for stealth kills, is to not have them see you, because then you're either, then you're not going to be, wading into the combat. And if you're just wading into the combat, if you just want one sneak attack, it is way better to just take martial arts and literally to just run into combat and start hacking away. So Mr. Fix-It, disarm traps, hack devices, pick locks, unjamming weapons. That's the kind of stupid thing about this perk is that it does not work. Those two bonuses do not work together at all. It does not work together at all, not even in the slightest. If you have somebody who has a very high mechanical skill and you are regularly repairing your items to boost that mechanical skill even higher, you're keeping your weapons like up to date because you don't want them to jam, they're never going to jam. Again, played for 30 hours. The only time I've had a weapons jam was when I picked up a level, like, I think it was like 20%, and I was firing it and it jammed, and it's like, well, of course it jammed, it's 20%. But as soon as they're like 75% or higher, I've never had one jam on me, so therefore unjamming a weapon is not something that happens. And again, if you have a mechanic on your team who's constantly repairing stuff because you want to get that skill point even higher, this is kind of pointless. It really is honestly kind of pointless. So I don't I think this is the worst pick there is for like activatable ability for the unjamming weapon. It is of course really good for disarming traps, picking doors, opening chests, that kind of stuff. You really do want somebody on your team who can disarm traps, open hack devices, and open locks, because there's a lot of money, a lot of intel, a lot of hidden items that are retrieved via this route. So again, if you don't have somebody on your team, I would always recommend. I love Livewire. She's hilarious. It's funny listening to her talk all the time. I don't get tired of her her Overwatch comments. So again, if you have somebody like that on your team, you don't need your main character to have this. Absolutely not. This is not when you have so many other cheaper, better options. Night Ops. Love this. On my first boot up, I immediately took this. I'm like, yes, this is great. Then I discovered that nighttime is like 6 hours basically within the game, and trying to line up your assaults to wait for nighttime is basically impossible. And again, 30 hours in, I've only been in 2 underground areas. So I know there's more underground areas, but this was not helpful at all. I think I maybe used it half the time. And again, that accuracy, if you're going for close quarter assassinations, you take the close quarter one. If you're constantly firing with auto weapons, again, you take this, you get this bonus all the time, whereas this one you're only getting when you're underground or at night. So it's not really, I really don't see the point of taking night ops, because if this came with yet another stealth bonus, that would be better. Like that would, I think, by combining stealthy and night ops, you could basically be, nearly invisible completely. And by the time you take the other perks, your level up perks, then you could be like totally invisible all the time. That would be worth it. But right now, this is not worth it, because if you're doing close quarter stuff, this is the one you want. If you're using heavy weapons, this is the one you want. If you're using full auto weapons, this is the one you want. Especially if you're using full auto weapons with heavy weapons, then you're taking these two. You're never taking night ops. You're never taking night ops. It just doesn't work. So yeah, it's not as good as I feel that the other combinations are. I do kind of wish that they had let us take 3 of these and maybe tied them to some of the answers. That would kind of be cool. But anyways, stealthy, of course. Stealthy is, if you're a stealth player, I'm a stealth player. This is great. I love. There's nothing funner for me in the game than to like go through on a map and silently assassinate everyone, leaving like one dude left alive, and then engage the fight. And he goes, guys. It's the greatest thing ever. I love it. I love the sneaky, and the game's not even built for that. But Jagged Alliance 2 and Jagged Alliance 3 do have a strong silent game, which is logical, because if the enemies spot a body of one of their fallen comrades on the ground, they will immediately raise the alarm, and that adds to the puzzle of like figuring out that kind of combat. And again, the devs didn't want it to be a full stealth game, so they made it kind of harder, but it's still there. It still has an option, and I still love doing it. So again, if you love stealth, take this one. If you don't love stealth, and again, you want to just go in with a giant heavy machine gun or a big sword, you could go nuts on the other options up above here. But stealthy is literally take it for just if you're really wanting to be stealthy, and there's a lot of gameplay, a lot of really cool gameplay that you can get out of that. Faster training of militia and bonus XP. You always want somebody on your squad to have this, always, because there's basically a limited amount of XP that you can get in the game, especially for your main character. You want them to get as high level as they can, so that you can unlock all the cool stuff, so that you can have this one-man army or this cool like ace commando that you send in. This is the funnest bits of that, and I think that again this is like probably this is probably one of the best things that you could get. But again, lots of other mercs come with this, and some of my most favorite mercs come with this, and some of my most favorite mercs that I never want to be without come with this, and so therefore doesn't stack. You only need one on the squad, and if you take that, then it's good. You're solid with it. All right, and then throwing. Again, knife and grenade, they both have their places. Grenades have saved me numerous times, especially on the harder difficulties. It really is nice to chuck out a grenade and to just clear out, an entire pack of enemies. But I haven't really encountered a problem with it not having this. I have been able to do almost everything. If you're going for stealth kills, you're almost 100% going to be taking sneaky. So the knife throwing doesn't really get affected with that, because it only gives you a little bit more range. And again, it's like, if you're doing more sneaky stuff, then lean in towards the stealthy. Don't just rely on chucking a knife from as far away as possible. But it is it is pretty cool. The knife throwing is still pretty good, and the grenades are a lot of fun. And there are some aspects in which I think, probably closer to mid and late game, you're going to be utilizing far more throwing weapons, grenades, mustard gas, that kind of stuff, flares. I don't know if we have the bugs. I don't know if we've got the bugs. We got the zombies. Who saw that one coming? We got zombies, guys. This is amazing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure you'll find out at some point. But yeah, we got zombies. So zombie-like. I'm not going to spoil anything, but zombie-like. Not actual zombies, of course, but zombie-like stuff. But yeah, haven't encountered a need to have this as a perk because, and again, my main character, she's got a primary weapon. Secondary weapons are knife and grenades, and I use those all the time. But I haven't found myself going, man, if I could just throw this a little bit farther. Haven't encountered that yet. Don't know if we will. But yeah, that's my opinion on this. So if you agree, or if you think I missed anything, please put something down in the comments. Again, this is one of my favorite games. Shout out to all our community members who are playing it. And also check out some of the mods on Steam. There is a ton of mods on Steam that are offering some really cool custom characters. This guy is really cool. This guy is really awesome. Love these mods. Love the fact that they've added so many of these mods right from the get-go. And they've given that they opened up the Steam workshop for that. I'm going to cover some mods here. Probably once we get a few more out. I think we're up to about 59 mods today. And then just this morning, or just yesterday, I believe it was, Nexus started up their page for Jagged Alliance 3 as well. So this is the intro. Let me know what you guys think. Now, as a bonus, I'm going to show you in the game where you can pick up an absolutely amazing sniper rifle. So up at A2, way up here on the mainland, there is a absolutely brutal fight, and there's a boss on the map. I won't spoil anything, but if you go there, a couple ways that you can take care of the problems that are there, and it's pretty brutal. But once you do it, you will be given this absolutely amazing weapon. You'll have to loot it. It's a static object on the map, so you actually loot it directly. And it is this gun right here. Kayla has it, and it is a golden sniper rifle. 50 damage a shot. I have seen this thing crit somebody for 92. Basically just a one-shot kill. And I mean, a lot of sniper rifles do one-shot kills, especially in the early game. But this is absolutely beautiful. Large accuracy bonus when prone. You can't modify it, but man, this thing hits hard. It's a lot of fun. So if you found any other cool gold-plated legendary, I would definitely call this a legendary weapon. This thing is amazing. It is super heavy, but it is amazing. And even somebody as weak as her doesn't have an issue carrying it around. She gets tired maybe slightly more than some of the other mercs, but her strength's already really low anyways. But really good. This thing snipes at a crazy distance, and it delivers one-shot punch death kills to everybody. It's so cool. So yeah, you find this one way up at the map, up at the top.
All done. If you need me, I will be reading my book.
Yeah, she's reading her book. Just up here, beautiful, so much fun. This fight was brutal. A2, this is way up there. This is where you start at. You go up here. That's where it is.
I have read about the communist days before the Civil War. How they have seized the means of productions from the rich imperialists, about the collectivization and industrialization. Good. And I've been thinking, if they did everything right, why we didn't get to the bright communist future?
Because that wasn't real communism, comrade.
We're on our way.
Did you enjoy that video? Let us know by slamming that like button and leaving a comment below. And if you found it helpful or informative, consider hitting that super thanks button or checking out the other support options in the description. Subscribe for tons more guides and other fun videos, and for insightful gaming news content, check out our sister channel, Triple S Podcast.